Hosea 4:6, it says, my people, not the world, God is saying my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also reject thy children. If you notice here, it does not say that they were destroyed because they didn't have access to knowledge or that they were not given knowledge. They had a lack of knowledge because they had rejected the knowledge that God had given them. So they had plenty of knowledge, it's just that they rejected the knowledge that they had received. They said, no, we don't want that. We don't want to do that. We want to do our own thing. They had forgotten God's Word. And therefore, God's people are perishing today because they have a lack of knowledge. Now turn over to Proverbs chapter 1. Proverbs chapter 1 in verse 5. Proverbs chapter 1 verse 5. We read verse 4 in Sunday school. Talking about a simple-minded man. Now we're going to read verse 5. Verses 2 and 3, I told you the purpose of Proverbs. Verses 4 tells you who Proverbs is written to, a simple man and a young man. Verse 5 tells us what we're supposed to do with what we learn. It says in Proverbs 1:5, a wise man or a wise woman will hear and will increase learning, and a man of understanding shall attain unto wise counsel. When a person hears knowledge and they get knowledge, and biblical knowledge that is, we're supposed to hear it, yes, but then we're supposed to take it inside and increase the knowledge that we have and our understanding. Look at Proverbs chapter 9, verse 9. Proverbs 9, verse 9. A couple pages over. Proverbs chapter 9, verse 9. It says, give instruction to a wise man. That's what we're supposed to do, give instruction to a wise man. And if you notice, this person is already wise, but a wise person is ever to be learning. It says, give instruction to a wise man, and he will yet be wiser, or will be yet wiser. Teach a just man, and he shall increase in learning. Meaning that if you give knowledge to someone, and they take and accept that knowledge, they don't reject it like God's people many times that we read over in Hosea. They don't reject it, but they receive it and say, yes, that is something I need. That is something I didn't know. That's something I need to walk the Christian life. Then, hey, they receive that knowledge and they become yet wiser. And that's what it's saying there. Give instruction to a wise man. He's wise already, or he wouldn't receive it. He's wise in the fact that he receives what has been given to him, and he becomes yet the wiser. Teach a just man, and he will increase in learning. The same thing goes there. Now what I want to talk with you about this morning is keep growing and going. Keep growing and going. We have received, this past week, we had, let's see, 13 messages since last Sunday, not including today. Starting last Sunday morning in Sunday school, we had 13 sermons, teachings, or whatever you want to call it. We had 13 different type of messages and things that were a benefit to God's people. You know, many people, they have meetings at their churches, and there's different kinds of meetings. Basically, there's about 5 main different kind of meetings. You can have an anniversary service. Have an anniversary service. Well, that's a celebration. That's a celebration of God's people rejoicing that God's been good to them through the year as a church and as a group of believers. That's an anniversary service. Some people have revival. That's for the church. A lot of people, oh, revival, that's for the world. No, revival services is not to reach the lost. Now, certainly, sometimes God's people that get that are lost and get saved, they get saved anywhere. It don't make no difference what kind of meeting. We praise God anytime they get saved. It don't have to be a meeting. It can be at their home. It can be at Burger King. It can be on the street corner, wherever it's at. But talking about meetings, a revival meeting is not for the lost, but we welcome the lost if they come in. But the revival services that people have are mainly, the purpose of them is for the church people, to grow and get right with God if there's sin in their life, to keep from God moving in their midst. And that's what it talks about when you talk about revival. Revive us again, they sing during that meeting a lot of times. Revive us again. You can't revive something that's dead. You have to revive something that already has life in it. And therefore, that's why it's not talking about lost people. people. It's talking about the church, God's body. Then there's an evangelistic type meeting. And that is to the lost. That's where you reach out and you try to reach the lost people in your area. You try to reach out and reach the people that are going to hell. And you try to get those people to come in and you preach the gospel of Jesus Christ to them and tell them that they're lost and going to hell and that they need to be saved and get underneath the precious blood of Jesus Christ. That's an evangelistic type meeting. Then you have the missionary type meeting. That's where you try to get people might do faith promise giving or to put an emphasis on missions as a church, and that we're going to maybe take on another missionary or two or three and give more to missions, and we want to be concerned about missionaries, and people might even raise their hand to go to the mission field in a meeting like that. And people would give themselves to the Lord, that they will go out to the fields or wide at the harvest while people are dying. That's a missions type meeting. But this week we've had a different type of meeting. We've had a conference. That type of meeting is not for the lost. It's not necessarily to revive the church. It's not to reach out to the mission world. It's not as a celebration. But it's to get information out and to give us knowledge and to give other people knowledge that come into the meeting. And that was the whole purpose this week, is to give out knowledge through the teaching and the PowerPoints and the information that we handed you and the DVDs and so forth, the information in this room, was to give out knowledge so that we gain knowledge. Now, we have a responsibility as Christians. We have a responsibility to take that knowledge and not be as those people in Hosea that rejected knowledge that they had received. They had received knowledge from God. They had received God's Word, just like we received knowledge this week. 13 different times. No matter how many times you was here, you received some type of knowledge while you was here. And so therefore, you used to take however much knowledge that you received, take that knowledge and apply it to your life, and take it and use it and help you be a better soul winner, might help you be a better Christian, might help you stand more firm on God's Word, whatever God deals with your heart about. But that knowledge is not to be rejected. You can't say, well, I didn't receive any knowledge, because we know that you did. I was here every service, and I know a lot of knowledge was given out. I learned plenty of things myself. I heard testimony about, hey, I've learned a lot this week. I've learned many things. And so therefore, there has been much knowledge given out in 13 different times this week. And a wise man, it says in Proverbs, will hear and will increase learning. That's what we're supposed to do with that knowledge. And so this message is to kind of like a follow-up of what are we supposed to be doing with that knowledge? What are we supposed to be doing? Well, the title of the message I gave you was Keep Growing and Going. So the first thing that we as Christians need to be doing is that as a result and as an aftermath of what we have heard, that we need to keep growing. We're not just supposed to take that knowledge and say, well, I've gained more knowledge, I'm going to stick it in my file cabinet in my mind and close the door and go do something else. No, we're supposed to leave that file door open. We are supposed to be, it is filed already. As you heard it, it was processed and filed in your brain that God created, assuming that most of us have a brain. And that if you have a brain, then it's there, and it is filed. And hopefully it ain't in file 13, which is the trash can. Hopefully, though, the fact is it can't be file 13, no matter if you want to put there. Once it goes in your brain, you can't lose it. It's there. And hopefully you'll be able to recall some of that information. Now, some of that you might need to go over. That's why we gave you information in a bag. Hopefully that you'll read that. That's not for taking up space. It's not for paper airplanes and so forth. It's not for starting fires. But it's to learn and to go over and to go over and go over. They say that, when you hear something one time, you don't retain very much of it. You don't retain much of it. But if you hear it again, the second, the third, and the fourth, you gain a whole lot more. If you're able to look at it with your eyes and put your senses in work, not only hearing it with your ears and seeing it with your eyes, and even taking notes and writing down things, boy, you gain a whole lot more. I know when I'm sitting in the service and I take notes and write down things, and boy, I get a whole lot more out of it because I'm using my senses. I'm using touch. I'm using my ears to listen. I'm using eyes. I know everybody's not like me. I'm just saying me. That's what helps me. But the more we can go over something, then the better it is. Like when you get these DVDs and CDs, or whatever you order, then take this information and use it. Just don't say, wow, boy, we got a stack of CDs in a nice little case, and we're going to put it up here and never listen to it. Go over that information. It's there to help you and to give you more knowledge. You might say, well, I'm just going to put it up here and we're going to listen to it later. In a sense, if you just put it up there and you never listen to it again, in a sense you have rejected it because it's there to help you, and a wise man will increase learning. And the way that you can increase learning, so I've already heard that, but you'll learn something more the second time. I guarantee you pop in that DVD or CD and you listen to it and you'll say, wow, I didn't catch that the first time he said that. I do that all the time. I get tapes from Brother Little. If you ever want to get on his mailing list, by the way, he sends out DVDs and CDs all the time, free of charge. Don't cost you nothing. That's an advertisement for you, Brother Little. But it costs them money, but it's a blessing. I listen to some of his messages, sometimes 3 and 4, 5, 6 times. Amy, thanks to Amy. And boy, I hear something. Now, he's got one message of the sin of smoking pot. Now, I know we have a big problem with that in here. I can tell Mr. Jack been smoking a lot of pot in his life. And so he's going to be like, Now, he cooks in a lot of pots, but I don't think he smoked a lot of pot. Thank God for that. But, boy, can he cook in a pot too. But anyway, I forgot what to say. But the sin of smoking pot, I mean, I've heard that message. Not that I smoke pot. I don't smoke pot. I had one time, I was at a party, and they said, "Here, you want a drag?" I said, "Yeah, what's a drag?" And so I thought, you drag your leg or you drag, and I didn't know. And they said, they said, "Here, take a hit of this." I didn't know how to inhale. That didn't do me nothing. So I go back inside and wanted to dance with the girls. That's more fun to me than being outside with a bunch of boys in the bushes smoking pot. Made more sense to me being there with the girls. But anyway, that's just the way I was. So I thank God I didn't do any of that kind of garbage other than that one time that I about choked to death. But I've heard that message now probably 8 or 9 times. Amy likes to hear that message. I don't know, maybe she's been smoking pot. I don't know. But she likes to hear that message. And so, I don't know. Maybe she's going to use it one day. I hope so. Not the pot. I'm talking about the message. Maybe I should clear that up. But every time I hear that message, boy, I said, man, I didn't hear that last time. What was I sleeping? I don't know. What was I doing? I don't know. But I've heard it now several, 8, 9, and I gain something every time I hear it. And you'll do the same thing. Hopefully, I don't know if you'll do it so much with my messages, but I know you will with Brother Little and Brother Mitch messages that he brought. If you'll take those and listen to them over and over and over, you'll gain something every time. You'll say, boy, I didn't hear that last time. I see that now. And the more you hear it, the more you'll have it in your mind. So when someone said, hey, I used the New King James, you'll be able to say, well, you know this and this. And hey, did you know over in 1 John 5:7 it says this in the New King James? And what about over here in John 3:16? What about over here in Acts? And boy, you'll be able to quote right out. You'll be amazed. You'll say, man. You'll be able to do that because you heard those tapes over and over and over. So that's what they're for. But we are to ever be growing. To ever be growing. That's the first step. As I said in the title, keep growing and going. Now, a child, I won't say we all, hopefully we all don't, but most of us have children. And we know what it is to raise children. Raising a child, and for them, when they pop out into this world, they don't automatically start growing, do they? They start growing, but they don't become an adult by accident. You know, if you just, hey, I had a child, here he is, we got some clothes on him, we're going to take him home, throw him in the crib. Boy, I'm glad when he grows up, when he gets here soon. Well, that's not the way it works. It's not an accident. There's not a magical wand that you wave on and say hocus pocus and he pops up and he's an adult. Okay? Matthew is growing up pretty fast since we know him, but there's nothing magical about it. It's not an accident. It's not like, a plant that you have in your house. Beth has this miracle growth that you put on your plants and it helps it grows, and just a miracle how it works and supposed to work miracles. Well, there's no miracle grow that we can pour on little infants and say, ooh, won't they grow up and hurry? And just pour it on and they're going to start sprouting and growing. That's not the way it works. There are no shortcuts is what I'm trying to say. To a child that's born into this world, it's not an accident. There's no shortcuts. It takes some work. It takes some stuff that we have to do as parents to help that person, that child grow. It's also hard work. When you say, all you parents, boy, it's hard work. Isn't it hard work? It's hard work. You imagine thinking, us kids, and we're all kids, we might be older kids, some of us are 84-year-old kids, but think about how many times your mom changed your diaper. You think how many times your mom picked up after you and spilled. That was an awful lot for him. Calculator wouldn't go that high. But You think about all, she don't think that's funny. But anyway, you think about how many times your mom has washed your clothes. Boy, that's a lot of times. That's hard work. That's an awful lot of hard work. Think about how many times your daddy had to get up and go to work all them hours paid for, all the times you left all the electricity on, and left the curling iron going, and all that kind of stuff, you know. It all had to be paid for. All the lights had to be paid for, and all the water had to be paid for, and the electric bill, and the rent and all. Boy, it's hard work. Boy, it's hard work. Disciplining our children. A lot of people like our 3 girls. I don't know why, but they do. And they say, boy, you've done a good job. And I said, well, it's all him and because of her. It's nothing to do with me, really. And they like them, but they don't really like the way we got them there. They really don't. I mean, they say they do, but they don't. Because if I were to tell them how we got them there to where they are, boy, they would have a fit. In fact, we've told some. And they're like, oh, I don't think you should do that. Well, I thought you said you liked the outcome. Well, I do, but I don't think you'll do that. That's not right. Well, that's how you get them there. I remember at 2 years old, taking Amy out in church. Told her to go in church. It's time for her to go in church at 2 years old. I've seen little kids and parents taking a whole toy box for their kids. They'll bring in every kind of little toy in the world, every little soldier, and every little toy truck, and every little Barbie doll, and the coloring book, and candy, and snacks, and drinks, and cookies, and man, they got the whole refrigerator. They got they bring a U-Haul to church to bring all this stuff so their little kid will sit there so they can persuade him and to behave now, little Johnny, a little Susie. Boy, we didn't take anything to church. All I took was my belt. And that's all I took. At 2 years old, we took them out of the nursery. And we expected them to sit still, hold their hands, not be squirming and looking around. It's not important what little Johnny's doing over yonder. It's not important what's happening behind you. I don't care who comes in the back door. You look at that preacher, and don't you dare take your eye off that preacher. And that's what we taught them. But Amy, she had her own ideas. Now, I'm going to share this because most people are, oh, at 2 years old? Oh, that's so terrible. Yeah, but look at her now. She can't take her eyes off me still. And she better not. I mean, I've got her trained in. I did a pretty good job, I think. Man, at 2 years old, I took her in there and I told her, I said, now don't you be talking. Don't you be moving. Don't you be doing nothing. And all of a sudden, oh, she wanted to squirm. She wanted to look around. She wanted to get up. Oh, I had enough of that after a few minutes. I said, listen, I can take it again. I said, if I take it again, that's it. I said, you're going out. Oh, she just tried. She said, oh, that's okay. Her 2-year-old little brain says, oh, Daddy ain't going to do that in church, I guess. And sure enough, she went to squirming and moving and looking, and she didn't really want to look at the preacher and make noise. I took her up, and she started crying. And the preacher said, Mark, don't kill her. That's what he said. He said, Mark, don't kill her. And I just went on that back door. Took her to the car, pulled her breeches down, and wore her butt out. Boy, I guarantee you, she was blood red. She wasn't this, I got a whipping. You know, you see people take them out, it looked like they took them out and get candy or something, or ice cream. And, you know, they're worse than they were when they went out. It's like, what did you do? Who got the whooping? The adult or the kid? Well, there was no doubt when she came back in who got the whipping. Because she was, she was snot running down her eyes, and she was sucking wind. She should have been on a gas mask because, she was about to die. And I said, you better be quiet with that mess. And you sit down here and you be quiet. I said, and you look at that preacher and don't you open your mouth. Oh, she was fine for just a minute, and all of a sudden she wanted to start looking. And she wanted to start playing. And boy, I said, I'm going to tell you one more time. I said, if you move again, that's going to be it. Oh, she went to moving and looking. Oh, I jerked her up again. Here she goes screaming again. Ah! Ah! You thought I'd killed her. And I almost did when I got back out the second time. I said, you ain't seen nothing yet. So I pulled her breeches down again, took my belt off, and I wore her out twice as long, twice as hard as I did the first time. Well, she was really sucking wind. She's like, boy, she could really preach. I guarantee you that night. She'd be a wind-sucking preacher, I guarantee you. She'd put them all to shame. She came back in. And I guarantee you, she ain't moved. She didn't say a word. Her eyes were stuck on that preacher. If he had jumped up and down, she would have been doing this. And, it didn't make no difference. She was, and you know what? The next night, Sunday night service, she didn't budge. Wednesday night service, she didn't budge. Next Sunday, she didn't budge. She didn't budge anything. Because I taught her well. And that's how you do it. Now, that's hard. You think, did I enjoy that? No, I didn't. I didn't like that at all. That broke my heart. But I knew to get that girl to sit down and behave, I had to break her will. Not break her spirit, but break her will. And boy, I had to teach her, you're going to behave in church. Because I ain't going to have this every week. I'm not going to fight with you. I'm not bringing cookies and ice cream. I'm not bringing toy soldiers and baby dolls. We're going to come to church, and you're going to have your Bible, and you're going to sit there, and you're going to look at that preacher, and you ain't going to move. And that's the way we did all three of them. She was just a little bit more hard-headed. But that's how you do it. Now, a lot of people say, oh, I don't think we can do that. Well, okay, do what you want to do. These are my girls. Raising kids is hard work, though. It's hard work. It's hard work. Not only is, I will say this, it's hard work, but it is worth it. I think it's worth it. It's worth now. Andy, I don't have to go back there and get her a baby doll and give her something to drink. You know, she knows how to sit in church. And I guarantee she knows how to train her child now. I guarantee you she'll remember that. If her little child starts squirming and all, and she don't do nothing, I'm going to take her out again. I guarantee you. I went one night, I will tell you which one it was. It wasn't too long ago. She's 20 years old. Well, I guess I told her it was. And I don't care. As long as they live in my house, they're going to live by my rules. I don't care if they're 20 or 30. If they live at my home, if they don't do what I say, they can get away with it. That's just what I am. Now, a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people say, well, that's not the way you should do it. Well, I don't know how you're supposed to do it. The Bible says do it. And that's the way I go by it. Now, it's hard work, but the outcome is going to be worth it. I know it is. I know the outcome is going to be worth it. Not only is it no accident and it's hard work, but raising a child, you say, well, I wouldn't have to do anything. Just stick with me. It's time consuming. It's time consuming. How much time is given to teaching little kids and teaching them how to talk, teaching them how to walk? It takes up your whole life, a part of it. You know, it takes a good 20, 25, 30 years. And then you're still not through teaching them. Hannah's 21, but we're still trying to teach her. It never stops. It's awful time consuming. To teach your kids things that they need to learn. To teach them things about God's Word. They don't learn about Jesus overnight. You start talking about him, you start telling them the stories about Jesus and Jonah and the well and David and Goliath and the 3 Hebrew children and Jesus died on Calvary for your sins. It takes time. You have to tell that over and just like they were saying the other night. Man, you got to teach church members 50 times. Those little kids, you got to teach them 100 or something before they get it. You got to teach them over and over. Then you got to teach them by example. You can't just tell them. You can't be like the supervisor at Burger King. Don't do what I do. Do what I say. You know, that's what a lot of parents say. Don't do what I do. Just do what I say. Well, that's a garbage. That's a hypocrite, and he's a hypocrite. Parent that says, "Oh, don't smoke," and they're sitting there smoking is a hypocrite. I've seen that over and over. It takes an awful lot of time. Raising children is not a race, it's a marathon. It's a test your endurance. And it's a test of endurance, is it not, parents? It is a test of endurance. But again, it's going to be worth it. Not only that, but it's awful painful to raise children. It's awful painful to raise children. And I'm not about to tell you about all my kids' faults. I ain't going to tell you my own. But it's painful to raise children sometimes. They make mistakes just like we do. And they're hard. Boy, I broke my parents' heart a few times, that's for sure. That's for sure. But it's painful. It's hard to let them grow up sometimes and to make mistakes and stumble. We're starting to give Hannah some let her have some of the rope, so to speak. We're going to let her hang herself some. And so let her make her own dumb choices and dumb mistakes. And so then when she gets up and wipes herself off, she'll keep going. Now we've got to start training her in that area and so forth. But it's painful. It's painful. You know, it's what you call growing pains. When I was little, you know, everybody ever had growing pains growing up? Your little legs hurt? Jeremy? Matthew, you ever have growing pains? And your legs hurt, and your arms sometimes? Well, I'll tell you what my dad did. I ain't saying your dad's supposed to do this. I'm saying my dad. So don't get mad at your dad if you don't do this. But I remember crying at night, living in Bath, South Carolina, and over even on Deansbridge Road, and My legs would start hurting. They start hurting so bad, I'd get up in the middle of the night, they'd just cry. I'd just cry and say, Daddy, my legs hurt so bad. He'd come in there. He'd pick me up, take me back into bed. And he'd just rub my legs until I went to sleep. Make them feel good. He just rubbed me. I don't know how long he rubbed my legs to make me feel good until I went back to sleep. All I know is he sure did make them feel good. Just him being there was nice. But those growing pains are good. You know, you got to have some growing pains for your legs to get longer and your arms get stronger, I guess. And those are good. But they do hurt. They do hurt. It's like in boxing or in any sport. They say no pain, no gain. When I was lifting weights when I was young, you know, it's easy to lift weights until you get tired. Then you want to put it down. But that don't do you much good. Lifting weights don't help you unless you really start exerting some pressure, and it really is hard. And then you get someone to, if you're bench pressing, you get someone to spot you behind you. Just kind of put their finger on it, just give you a little help. But you're the one doing all the pushing. And then you bring it back down. You really want to quit and say, oh, this is going to be the last time. They say, no, go one more. And then you go one more. They say, come on, you do it one more. And you push another one. And before long, you done did 10 to 15 more. And that's how you begin to grow and build those muscles. Undoubtedly, as you can see, it didn't work with me. But undoubtedly, I didn't exert much pain. But that's how you grow. That's how you grow. Now, that's all talking about a physical child. Now, spiritually speaking, the same thing applies to us as Christians. We are children of God if you're saved. The Bible says if you've been saved, then you're one of His children. We've been born again. And He is our Father, and we are His children. Well, did you know that in the spiritual walk, just like in the physical child, it's no accident for us to grow? We're not going to miraculously walk into church one day and say, oh, look there, I've attained. I've got it now. I'm a mature Christian. No. There's not a book that I can give you off a shelf. There's nothing I can hand you and say, oh, this DVD's going to do it. This CD's is the answer to you becoming a mature Christian. There ain't one. It's not an accident. There's not no miracle grow spiritually I can give you to say, drink, go home, drink this, and you're going to be a mature, growing Christian. It's not an accident. There's no shortcuts. But boy, how many people try to walk the Christian life and they want to grow, they want to become more like Christ, but boy, they try every shortcut. And there's no shortcuts. There's no shortcuts to this. It's also hard work, just like raising a child. It's awful hard work. There's no shortcuts, and it's hard work. There's going to be hard labor in it. It's hard work to fight the devil every day. I don't know about you, but I fight the devil every day. I fight the devil in reading this Bible. I fight the devil in spending time in prayer. I fight the devil not to get jealous. I fight the devil not to grow lukewarm in my Christian walk. I fight the devil to visit. I fight the devil to handing out gospel tracts to people. I fight the devil to tell someone about Jesus. You say, you preaching? Yeah, I sure do. It's hard for me. It's easy, but yeah, it's hard for me to go up to someone and want to get cussed out and get fussed at and say, aren't you that boot-burning preacher? I don't have nothing to do with you and so forth. That's hard for me. I like to be liked just as much as anybody else. I like people to like me. I know a woman over there that lives across from Mr. Reagan, hates my guts. She won't speak to me. She's told him not to tell me, not put anything up on her door, and not come back over there. I won't go back over there anyway, I don't care. But that's hard for me. That's hard for me. I fight the devil. That's hard. It's no easier for me than it is for you. We all have this flesh, and it's hard to fight the devil. But I can guarantee you this. If we will fight, if we will grow, we can be like Paul and say, I've fought a good fight at the end of our life. I guarantee you, when we come to the end of our life and we say, I've fought a good fight, I've finished my course, I've run my race, and therefore there's laid up for me a crown of righteousness. Hey, it's going to be worth it all. Amen. Just like raising kids, it's going to be worth it all. When God says, here, you come on up here, my child. This is for you. Boy, it won't make no difference then what happened down here if we ran the race. Boy, growing as a Christian is no accident. It's hard work. It's also time consuming. It takes some time. And it takes a lot of time, I know, to raise a family. And there's no shortcuts in that. And any time that parents try to shortcut that by sending them off to the neighbors throw them in front of a TV and video games. These are shortcuts. Sending them over to the movies and sending them here. Let me send them to Christian school because that's my answer. That's my answer. I'm not against all Christian school, but a lot of parents use it as a shortcut. No, it takes time. It takes one-on-one. It takes time sitting and listening, hours upon hours. My wife has spent hours and probably months and probably years of her life listening to these three girls. Just sit there, not talking, just listening. She's done me the same way. And that's what it takes. It's time consuming. It eats up your life. Her life has been sitting and listening. That's what her life is. And a parent is supposed to give their time to their kids. A lot of parents don't do that. Again, they're looking for shortcuts. But there's no shortcut to it. It's time consuming. It don't happen overnight. It don't happen overnight. Same way as raising a child to grow up physically. Same way spiritually in your spiritual walk. It's a marathon. It's not a race. It's not to see who can get there first between me and Mr. Jack and Mr. Brian. This is our own marathon. We're all running. And it's a day-by-day thing. Some days we're going to stumble and fall, but boy, we got to get back up. Brush ourselves off and say, boy, I'm just going to keep running. Sometimes we're going to slow down at the water tables. They got set up. You ever seen a marathon, y'all? They run. I forget. You know how long? There's so many miles. There's like 26 or 30 miles is the minimum for a marathon or something. Boy, I couldn't walk a mile. I'll just run a mile. But boy, them people, they have tables set up where people give them Gatorade and drink and then stop and use the restroom, whatever they got to do. They stop and take some breaks. Sometimes in our Christian walk, boy, we get to a point sometimes, boy, I'm just tired. Sometimes we need some R&R. We need some rest and relaxation. The Bible speaks about that. Jesus did it. Jesus took time for rest. But he also spent a lot of time doing a lot of other things too, like praying, reading, preaching, teaching, spending time with his disciples. It's time consuming. Not only that, but it's awful painful. It's awful painful. I look back over my Christian walk, my Christian life, and my marathon. It's awful painful looking at some of it. Turned my back on the Lord some. Didn't always do what I was supposed to do. Lusted some, jealous some, hated some. Didn't read my Bible like I should, didn't pray like I should. Didn't give, I robbed God. Boy, that's painful. But looking at those things helped me be a better Christian today. They helped me in my Christian walk. I wasn't always the right kind of father. If it wasn't for her, these girls, I don't know what to be out to be. I wasn't always the right kind of father. I wasn't always the right kind of husband. But looking back at those things are painful. Those things are hard to look at and concentrate on. But thanks be to God that he forgives me. Thank God that I have a wife that forgives me. Thank God I have children that forgive me. But those things are there, and they help me be a better Christian. They help me be a better pastor. I think they help me be a better father and a better husband. Not that we should go out doing things so we can have pain. That's for sure. But those things work together in our life to help us to be more like Christ. The word Christian means to be Christ-like. To be Christ-like. Well, growing in the Christian walk is very much the same as I've described as a child. It takes a lot of time. It's painful. It's hard work, and it's no accident. If you're going to get to point A, from point A to point B, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Everybody knows that. You should know. But you know what we normally do? We come over here and we go back and forth, and then we take a U-turn and go back the other way, and we take the long way to get to point B. And that's the mature Christian walk. Now we're never going to attain, like Paul said. I have not attained, Paul said. But perfection as a Christian is supposed to be our goal. That's the point B. We're at point A. We need to get to point B. And we can't just live our Christian life and our Christian walk and say, well, I'm going to read this book when I get a moment. And at the end of the day, I'm going to try to read it in a couple minutes. And I'll try to pray a little bit. And expect to get from point A to point B. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some hard work because you're going to have to fight the devil to read this book. You're going to have to fight the devil to obey what's in this book. Now, he's going to fight you tooth and nail. He's going to make everything in the world break that's possible to break. Everything to go wrong is going to go wrong. Anybody that you know is going to hate your guts. I mean, everything's going to go chaotic. He will cause confusion in your spiritual walk. He will try to trip you up. Remember, that's what he tried to do in Job's life. He said, I can trip him up. He's not serving you because he loves you. It's because you've been so good to him. God said, okay, go ahead. God proved him wrong. Job just kept on. It was a marathon. He just kept on. It wasn't a race. Job did everything he could to trip up Job in his spiritual Christian walk. But he just kept on. He just kept on. His wife said, won't you curse God and die? He lost his family, his children, his wealth. His friends came and made fun of him. And, oh, you know you've been sin. What'd you do? Let us know. You know, good friends, you know how they are. But he just kept on. At the end of Job's life, God rewarded him. It was worth it. Was he perfect? No. He had some pride in there. He had some pride. He wasn't a perfect man, but he was one that hated evil. And he just kept on keeping on. We're going to grow as Christians. It's not going to be by accident. It's going to take some hard work. It's going to be on purpose that we have to read this book. It's going to be on purpose that we study this book. It's going to be on purpose that we get on our knees and we pray and ask God for some help. Tell him about what's on our heart and ask him to speak to us as we read it. It's going to take some pain because we're going to stumble. We're going to fall. But let's just keep moving ahead. We have had some good stuff this week. Let's keep growing. Now that's the introduction to my message. Now you got to the first point. So I'm going to close there. But that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to keep growing and going. Maybe now I'll finish it. But that's where I'm going to stop. I hope that you got something out of this introduction. If not, come back tonight and get the rest of it. But we as Christians, we got to keep growing. And we got to keep going as Christians. We can't give up and say, well, I've attained. I don't think anybody in here has attained perfection. But we got to keep going. Well, let's stand.